Welcome back to Ravens Roost. I'm Clint.
I'm Dave.
I'm Matt.
I'm James.
Today's topic of discussion is out-of-body experience. We grab some basic information and some personal views on out-of-body experiences, which you'll hear about on this episode.
I have a few those things I wanted to go over. Personal ghost experience. Now, do you remember on Mystic Street? You woke me up in the middle of the night and gave me like a bar or some kind of like stick or something, and Jasmine was in the kitchen crying. And then okay, so then we go down the hallway and we go around, and you're like, Jasmine, come here. Like, we thought someone was in a house or something. So we get to the kitchen, and the trash barrel is blocking her way from getting out of the kitchen.
I don't remember.
You don't remember that? Yeah, because I remember I was sleeping. You woke me up, and you go, oh, like, yeah, here, take this. You gave me, like, I don't know, a bar or a metal pipe or something. I don't even remember. And, yeah, we're going over, and Jasmine's just sitting because you remember how we had the washer in between the doors, so she could squeeze through, we could squeeze through. And I think the trash was usually under the window, but this time the trash was moved over and, like, blocking her way in and out. So it's like, how did the trash barrel get over there when she was in the kitchen?
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Damn. But yeah. So that's another thing I remember from Mystic Street. That was weird. Trying to think of anything else I was going to talk about. I think that's about it for me.
So for me, I got we were talking about Demon House.
Yeah.
So Zach Baggins has prism glasses because without them he sees double vision, and it all happened the day after he left the Demon House. After he left the house and ended the filming, he went to the neurosurgeons and shit like that, and they could never find anything wrong. Well, they knew what was wrong, but they couldn't find the reason why it happened. And he could get the surgery done, but there's a chance he could be blind, so he has to wear the glasses for the rest of his life.
Mm.
Also, the doctor that was in there, his name was Dr. Barry Taft. He had organ failure, and he actually had to do a GoFundMe and everything to pay for his bills because he ended up losing his job and everything else. After that, you can't really find much more information about like when he got out of the hospital, what ended up being the problem with him. You can't find anything else about him. And the girl who tried to kill herself, she actually doesn't remember being in that house at all, even though she was in the house like, I guess like 3 weeks ago when she tried to kill herself. Also, the Dear David guy, he actually is still out there like tweeting and stuff. He has a new book coming out, and New Line Cinema won the bidding war for the movie rights. Oh, and Dear David never actually left him gifts. It was just stuff found in the attic when Adam called the landlord and was like, "Hey, sounds like somebody's in my attic." And the landlord came and checked it out, and he found like a sneaker and a marble and stuff, and he gave it to Adam. Those are that's just some of the stuff I wanted to fix and clarify from the first episode.
Cool.
One thing I also want to add, do you honor the rights to be wrong for anybody that actually does listen? If you come across something like, oh, these guys don't know what they're talking about, there are chances that we're just going right off the top of our heads. So, don't hold it against us because chances are sometimes we'll have, a subject that's wrong.
Yeah. And then let us know.
On to the matter at hand. Out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
Have you had one?
My out-of-body experience is when I was younger, about maybe 4 or 5, one of my brothers was giving me a bath, and it was time to wash my hair. And like all kids, your fear is water and at least being under it. So I was being a little kid, being a little baby about it and giving a hard time. And he grabbed me and basically threw me under the water. And I remember seeing myself basically from above, like a bird's eye view, of just me in the water kind of struggling and my hair like floating. Basically, when my head came up from the water, I don't remember like anything else. Like I don't remember what just happened. Like there it was, I'm up. He's basically yelling at me, "Stop being a little baby bitch," and it was like nothing ever happened. It was just a weird thing that I remembered, but never really said anything. and I wasn't even going to use it because I was like, I was young. But that's mine.
So that classifies under spontaneous out-of-body experience. Near death. Near drowning was one of the things listed. It's funny because the bird's eye view thing, that's one of the other things I read was you'll either see yourself in either, air-based, like bird's eye, or on the ground. So like you'll either be above or you'll be like at level. So that could have actually happened to you.
Yeah, like I say, I remember it as clear as day. Like still,
Some people, it even says you could result from extreme physical, like climbing mountains and stuff like that, high altitude.
Oxygen deprivation.
Deprivation, yeah.
That's what that would be. Because once your body doesn't have enough oxygen, you kind of get into a state of euphoria. And if you stay in euphoria too long, excuse me, it can, like say, it can induce that.
Anybody else? Personal? You ever have a personal out-of-body experience?
Now, the closest I ever came was just like, I inadvertently had wussed out because we were actually going to try something. And then when it happened, I chickened out and did everything I could to come, basically, for lack of a better word, and come back. So it didn't work out as well as I hoped. But I was kind of like into like the new age stuff for a while. And someone I knew at the time had this tea you're supposed to drink, like meditations and things like that. They call it TPT. Because it's what you would do. You would have, while you're sitting, it was like a Native American thing. And so I was like, all right, so let's try this. And so I did. And as I was sitting there, I'm like, okay, everyone's sitting there chilling out and whatnot. I got like whatever music, probably like Enya playing in the background or something. And all of a sudden it's like, all right, just sitting there waiting and waiting. And then without even opening my eyes, I had seen the room like it was a snapshot. But suddenly, like almost in a cartoon, it was like a round sphere and just being pulled away as fast as it could be, but leaving only a darkness behind it. So I freaked out and tried to like mentally, without like actually physically moving my body, but mentally trying to get back to that sphere. And next thing you know, I was back in the room. Meanwhile, someone else I knew was crying because they just had an experience where they talked to somebody they knew they had just been speaking with that had passed away. So I was like, oh, well, I kind of blew that one. And then the tea was gone and everything else. So it was a more induced as opposed to an actual traumatic event. But that's unfortunately the closest I ever got to anything like that.
Not much. But like, I suffer from sleep paralysis. And I didn't know like what it was for a while. And I was talking with this kid that I work with. And he's been trying to astral project or have out-of-body experiences by himself. And he's done like trying to do it with drugs and like frequency sound waves, stuff like that. And one day we were working, I was like, yeah, man, I have these like sleep paralysis. And it's like, I'm explaining it to him. And he's like, dude, I wish I had that. He's like, that's like a gateway to astral project, like, go into a lucid dream. He's like, if you could control that, he's like, you could have like the best dream or out-of-body experience ever. I've tried, but I get too scared. So I just wake myself up. I'll try to. But I've had a few, I've walked around like my apartment before and like looked out my window and heard people talking. And then I've seen like an owl talking to me, like sitting on like my dresser or something, or nightstand, wherever it was. And that's probably the extent of my experience with it.
And I'm like the odd man out because I've never experienced anything related to out of body experiences, like at all. Like even going through like the list of things, like and the research I was doing today, it's more common than I actually thought it was. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't even know you guys went through any of this stuff. We've known each other forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Doing a research, like for instance, sleep paralysis. I think if I honestly ever went through something like that, it probably creeped me out. Like I wouldn't even know what to do.
Yeah. It's scary.
And the worst part is you can't do much. You just have to lay there and basically wait to wake up. Your body's in a state of lockdown stasis kind of thing.
Yeah, for me, it's like, not to get too much on sleep paralysis, but like I'm laying there, all I can do is either breathe or struggle to wake up. So like I take like a bunch of deep breaths, almost like building my strength, and then I push to like wake up. It doesn't work, so I'm like, all right, I gotta breathe more, build up the strength. But other than that, I have like felt like presence walking by, standing near me, but nothing. Nothing. I wouldn't say like for me, it's not like so paranormal though. So I don't know. But back onto out of body.
Have you experienced like vibration?
Like in sleep paralysis. All right. So actually, there was this one time after that kid told me like, dude, you should try to like do. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try and slip into like this lucid dream kind of, just let it take me. And I think I told James about it, but I don't know if he remembers because it wasn't like this huge thing. But I remember seeing like light, like almost like vibrations of light, like tie dye kind of stuff, and feeling like everything shaking and vibrating. But then I just like pulled myself out of it because I didn't want to like go further, if that makes sense. Like I didn't want to keep going into whatever this was. So I kind of just woke myself up. But yeah, so
because one of the things for that, like not sleep paralysis, but one of the symptoms was energy charges or vibration. So I mean, you'd be my prime like person to ask.
yeah. I mean, like that was at one time I had that like vibration and like almost to me it was almost like colors like almost like in a circle but vibrating to it, and I was almost like falling into it. And I just woke myself up though because I was like, yeah, I don't know about this, and like I definitely when I'm in sleep paralysis I think about like, man, if I could just like let go right now and maybe I'd have some cool experience and like float around or something. But then I'm like, I'm too scared. I just want to wake up. And then like for me, like I'll wake up, like, oh shit, I'm up. As soon as my eyes close, I'm back in it. And like I'm like, God damn, and like it'll happen like 5 times in that night where I just keep waking up, back to sleep, waking up, back to sleep. It's something that sucks. I've been dealing with it for like ever. Dave said he had sleep paralysis like a couple of years ago. I think you described it to me, and I was like, dude, that's what I have like every day, every night.
Yeah, so mine's was I can't say I suffer from sleep paralysis. There was like a time when I was like just stressed and I always had trouble sleeping. So it was like I was up for like a couple of days straight and I didn't sleep, or I got like maybe an hour or two of sleep. And one night I just passed out. And what seemed like maybe a minute later, I woke up with my eyes open. I couldn't breathe. I was trying to breathe and I just couldn't breathe, and then I couldn't move, which made me like hyperventilate because you can't move, you're freaking out, and I can't breathe. I'm gasping, I'm trying to breathe. I'm even trying to yell, help me, help me. Nothing's coming out, but I hear myself in my own head screaming it, but it's just not coming out loud. And I was trying to reach for my phone because the old man and old lady, they live downstairs, so trying to get a hold of them so they can come and help me. And then I just woke up. I sat right up, was still hyperventilating, trying to breathe, and freaked out. My mouth was dry. I got up and I legit was panicking, like, what the fuck just happened? And it actually happened a lot for a little while, but it hasn't really happened as much since, that I'm not as stressed out and kind of just like in a better place. But I mean, since you're suffering with that for like as long as you have been, fuck that. Like,
Yeah.
dealing with as short as the time as I did, it was just you just don't want to sleep because you don't know what the fuck's gonna happen, and not being able to breathe is like you're not living if you can't breathe. But it never happened to me like as a teenager like him. It was like a couple of years ago.
But there's other people who were out of body experiences who, like Clint was saying it before, use drugs.
Yeah, one of the things I read was this dude's been practicing astral projection for a long time, and he was mentioning that people who smoke weed tend to use that as a way of like relaxing their body and getting ready to put themselves through an out of body experience with the help of music.
Yeah.
I guess there's music that's made specifically for getting yourself ready for an out of body experience.
Binaural beats.
Yeah. A lot of it's on YouTube.
Binaural. Yeah.
Because I was scrolling through a few little documentaries and I noticed it's like random music or astral projection.
Yep. That was one of the things that kid I worked with was using, and he was like deeply into like sound waves and stuff and like vibrations. He's like there's certain like going on like if you listen to it, it'll like do this or that. I'm like, oh, like I can't get into that stuff, so it's definitely out there.
It is out there, but it's possibly, like in a theoretical sense, feasible because anything and everything has its own vibration. So in theory, you could counteract it with another vibration and get some kind of result out of that. It's just like a sound wave could break a glass. Maybe there is actually a frequency that could, knock you out of your proverbial body there for a minute.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
There's another one that says magnetic stimulation.
What's that one mean?
That's some guy, Michael Persinger, developed something called the God helmet. It was like a magnetic. Let me open up another tab on that. It's a magnetic called the Corn helmet after the inventor. Where is it? It's almost like a religious experience and the effects of subtle stimulation of the temporal lobes. Sensed presence, which is like you feel like the presence of a God. So, because a lot of people with the out of body experience say they talk to God or like a God-like creature, or we're in heaven or flying through like almost like a hole, like a wormhole kind of thing. There was this one documentary I saw. This kid said he was in basically like a line with other like transparent like spirits, you would kind of call it. And when it came up to his time, it was like this God-like figure was showing him his whole life on like a screen almost. And he had these seeds in his chest. And the God-like figure was like saying like, why didn't you forgive this girl for something she did? And he said, I did forgive her. And he's like, you didn't forgive her because you wouldn't have the seeds in your chest right now. And he's like, oh, like that's what those seeds are. Like I didn't forgive her. And he's going through this list of bad things he did in his life. And he's like starting to feel like, oh man, I'm not getting into heaven. Like this is what it is. And he basically was told like he needs to like do better, but he's not going to hell right now. So he was just confused after that. And the way he got into this like out of body experience, he said he was watching videos on it. And that night he kind of prayed and said, like, please let me have an out of body experience, please. Like, praying to either God or whatever. And he said that next night he had it. So a lot of people see like spiritual, religious type things.
This dude you're talking about, was he like Asian?
No.
Alright, because I was watching one earlier today, and it was I believe he was Asian. And he was explaining that astral projection and an out-of-body experience is one of the closest ways that we can actually get to what a lot of religious people believe in. He says it's very spiritual, and that's what a lot of basic beliefs in religion are, like Christianity or Catholicism, and that it wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings whether or not it was against someone's religion. And he was explaining how like he felt very close to God or to what it would feel like to be close to God. But for instance, I use this as an example. Like pretty much, two people have the same explanation for an out of body experience. You know what I'm saying? Like having the ability to what they claim talking to God or talking to a God. And like that guy gets his whole like, oh, you should have forgiven your ex-girlfriend or whatever it was. And to be proven that he didn't, because sometimes we hold that in us. Oh yeah, I forgive that person, but you truly don't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to be in a out of body experience and have that explained to you, that's crazy.
Yeah, because you believe you do. You're like, yeah, I forget, but deep down inside you don't.
Makes a lot of catalyst. You start talking about it again, and you realize I actually didn't give that up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
going back to the drug one. So in the Amazon, they actually have a drug called let me try to pronounce this here. Ayahuasca.
Hmm.
Or is it- oh, I can't even pronounce that.
Like I said, I think it's ayahuasca. So basically, it's a hallucinogenic that they take, and the effects like last over 8 hours. You actually got to get permission from a high priest. Josh Gates just did this for one of his
Oh yeah,
shows.
yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the side effects is throwing up and basically shitting yourself. Um,
Fun.
yes. So he did it. He's like, you freak out because you see the world in a whole different view. You see bugs everywhere. They talk to you. It's all psychedelic, and he's like, it's crazy. But when you wake up from it, you feel different about life in general. Like you just feel like you've seen stuff you've never seen before. That maybe it's all still going on around you in the like real life world today now, but that drug just opens your eyes up to it. Like we're living in a matrix kind of thing. And it's actually like a big thing where a lot of people go to Amazon just to have this done, where you actually have to sit in a tent with no lights. He requested candles, and they were like, we don't really want candles because you freak out. Like you don't know what you're doing because you're in another world, but your body, you might be reacting and like slap these candles over, and you're in a tent and it's on fire. You can't react because you're still in La La Land. So, but they allowed him to do it for the camera, and so uh, he doesn't recommend it, but he does. He's like he's not big on hey, go take drugs, but if you want to experience something where you could see loved ones, because people have said they see loved ones and they communicate, or see people that may have passed that you have an issue with, old relatives, and they have like that little moment where there's peace. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
What's funny is talking about this fruit. Black Panther. He had to eat the fruit in order to gain access to the astral plane, in order to talk to his deceased ancestors, which is crazy because that's a form of astral projection. And I'm reading here, people are using this as a diet technique as well, eating this fruit.
Yeah, because like I said, you throw up and shit yourself.
Let's see. Out of body experience.
Well, we've touched on 2 out of the 4 symptoms that I have actually written down,
Yeah.
which was energy, vibration, and sleep paralysis. I have sounds and noises.
Mhm.
As you're, sleeping. People have have come out saying that they've heard buzzing, humming, or even like whirring noises. The issue with that is most of them don't share the same intensity in how loud or how often these sounds are. But apparently, it is also a symptom for out of body experiences. Has that been something that you dealt with?
Not really.
And I'm gonna keep coming back to you because like you're the only one here that can recall, sleep paralysis or out of body moments. So,
Well, I've never had anything like that. For me, so my list here says spontaneous. It's just you could find it anywhere. Spontaneous and induced, which spontaneous under that is during or near sleep, near death, or extreme physical effort. This is spontaneous, so it's something that just happened. And induced is obviously chemical, mental, mechanical, which would be like sounds. But people hearing like buzzing noises, is that during out of body or sleep paralysis?
the way I'm taking it is, it's mentioned. I'm assuming it as if the person's laying down or trying to sleep.
Yeah.
So not as much as I mean, I guess it could be if you're in sleep paralysis and hearing noises and whatnot. It would make sense. But it actually didn't. It didn't specify when and where in the activity it would have been. I'm taking this as if this is like, say, me, someone who's never went through it. These are possible things that you can hear or you can go through. It's like a guide to be like, hey, don't be afraid. This is actually things people have gone through and documented. Kind of like a walkthrough. Like, hey, we heard you're new to out of body experience. Well, here's 4 symptoms to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this is all study based. So,
because for me, like sleep paralysis is something that would, for me, come before out of body, like that you're opening to it almost. Because when I've been in sleep paralysis, and I try, like before I try waking myself up, I've tried to like step out of my body, I guess, but nothing ever happened really. But for like vibration noises or whatever, like you were saying, frequencies, or the only time I had was that, like I said, that one time everything was like shaking, and I guess you could say it was like loud, like everything was just, but it's not really like noise, like, like a vibration kind of. And then
believe it or not,
colors.
What I read was some people actually refer to it as like a train. If you were close by, like say your house is close by a train track, if a train's coming speeding down the rails, you would feel the vibration and hear it.
Yeah. That's kind of how I felt like when I was in that one time. Was echo is like everything shaking, but then almost like your like soul's shaking too, like everything. And then that was at my old apartment.
The last one I got is it's actually the opposite of an out-of-body experience. It's the fact that you're sinking.
Yeah.
Like your body goes through a motion of like being dragged down.
Yeah. Kind of like what's that Get Out movie where he like.
Okay. Yeah.
Like that. I've had that feeling.
And what the person explained was it's not a bed symptom. You could be anywhere. Like you'd be sleeping on a floor.
Yeah. I fell
your
asleep.
whole being is slowly sinking.
Yeah.
Is that where you feel like you're falling, but you're not really falling? Is that what that is?
No, I've had that in dreams, like where I think I'm falling. But I've had like been in sleep paralysis and had what do you call it? Like feel like like I'm just in like a black abyss, falling away from I guess myself, but I don't see anything really, and I'm just kind of feel like I'm stuck in my head. But I'm almost exactly like Get Out, where he just kind of falls away and it's like nothing.
'Cause I know when I'm like super tired and I'm laying down and like it feels like I'm legit falling, and I'm laying in bed and I feel like I'm falling, and I even try to catch myself like, oh shit, but I'm just laying there.
Like that happens to me too. Where you feel like you're at an edge, you're about to fall off an edge while you're halfway sleeping.
Oh, yeah,
I've gone through that. I don't know how connected that could be to this, but it's possible, I would assume. Now here's the funny part. Again, I'm the odd man out because this is brand new to me. I never went through it. I actually never tried doing studies on it. I'm going to read something out. There are people that actually mastered the technique of astral projection, which we were touching base on. And they left a little, guide for someone like, say, myself, who's never gone through it. And it goes like this. As you know, this is the new side of yourself. You'll feel much lighter, almost like a cartoon ghost. From this position, you may be able to perceive your own physical body from above. It's like in movies, when a soul exits the body and watches it at a distance. Then, as a ghost, you can pass through solid objects like walls, closed doors, and furniture. Finally, you'll have the freedom to cross great distances in seconds. It may be hard or even impossible for amateurs to accomplish this state, but with enough focus and few attempts, everybody can do it. Just relax and have fun with yourself. Now think about that. Like, you can travel great distances in seconds. It brings me back to one of the YouTube videos I was watching. This dude stated, I think he was in like the Philippines. He was able to come to the United States in seconds with an out-of-body experience. How is it possible? Now, I get through religion we have our body, and in the eyes of God, like our soul is so much more. Does that prove the theory that we are just a soul, and we're so much more as a soul than we are as a person?
Or are we just energy that can do that?
That's crazy, though. Just to
Yeah.
think that you could travel like thousands of miles with like blink of an eye. And he's not the only person to say this. This is like documented stuff that people like themselves have gone through.
I just watched I watched one like a couple of weeks ago about this lady who was in she was in I don't know if she was in surgery or a coma, and when she came to, she was like, yeah, she was like, what's with the shoe on the window, like the outside the window? And she even said what floor it was. I don't remember what floor. And sure enough, they checked the floor, and she said that it was either on like the west or east side of the building, and there was a shoe right on the outside of the window. And she's like, yeah, I don't know, I just saw it. I was outside the building. I could see the roof and everything. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, there was a shoe literally outside the window where she said it was. I think it was a shoe. Could have been a shoe or a bear, but I'm pretty sure it was a shoe. So that's like that, like, it's documented. And like, if the whole hospital's saying like, yeah, we found that, then there's something to it.
It's just crazy to think that all this is possible.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Coming from someone who's never witnessed or been a part of that experience, it's mind blowing. To me, it's mind blowing.
I agree.
Could you maybe say that could be some reasons of people being haunted? Is that it's those people who just are out of their bodies and just, all right, well, we're gonna fuck with these people, or not even really trying to fuck with them?
I mean, we touched a little bit on that personally amongst ourselves.
I know.
I think it's possible. I think if you're able to master your spiritual being and you can travel and you can do all these things, the same guy from the Philippines stated that he was able to pass through a man and the man reacted as if something pushed him, like pushed through him. If that's the case, then see this as a theory. How many times has a person been able to do this and say, wow, I've been touched by a ghost, like a spirit passed through me? And all this time, how do we know it wasn't people who mastered the ability of astral projection, utilizing that knowledge and changing the whole face of like paranormal?
It's definitely a good possibility that could be what it is. I think sometimes though, like when you get the EVP documentation and things like that into it, it shows a higher level of confusion with most spirits. Like they almost don't even seem like they can comprehend what's going on, or can get out like one or two sentences, maybe a couple words. So I think it's possible that some of the cases could be like that, but I'd have to say not all of them.
Yeah, I can totally agree. Like, I'm not saying everything would be like that, because you have like where people see somebody in like a different time period's clothing.
Right.
So obviously sometimes, but I mean, like, there's this one girl who's like said she's had sex with a ghost over 300 and something times, and they were just got married a couple of months ago, and now they're getting a divorce. Like, could this be an actual ghost, or could this, one just be her in her own mind, or could it be one of these people who, projected themselves, kind of just was like met up with her, and then like all of a sudden was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And just see how far they can push it. Like a succubus and was it incubus?
Yeah.
Are those like actual ghosts, or are these people who are projecting themselves?
Those also fit under like demon as well.
Also a theory.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all this is fact.
Yeah.
Just saying it's a theory.
This brings like to mind for me, if you've seen the first Insidious movie.
Yes.
Yep.
They don't flat out state that it's an out-of-body experience or anything like that. And this brings it back home to, what we're used to, paranormal. Little boy himself suffers from what could be an out-of-body experience, where he's able to leave his body for so long, and then he can come back. The premise of that movie is, if he's gone for so long, another spirit can inherit his body. How possible do you think that is in an out-of-body experience? Because if you have these people traveling like all over the world, would it be possible for another spirit that is well aware of what's going on to inherit your body during that time?
Theoretically, it would be possible, but again, you're touching into such a level of theory. It's really hard to speculate. But it would make sense that if your vessel is empty and someone else knew how to kind of take it over, I could see that in theory working. But it's such a theoretical thing. It's really hard to put something solid to it.
Yeah. And I ran out of time when I was doing research at home. I never got to actually look into it to see if there was ever any claims that this did happen to somebody, which would be very interesting to know if an astral projection has caused someone to lose their physical body to maybe another person that was projecting or another thing that existed in an astral world.
It basically becomes a case of possession at that point.
Yeah. And actually, you know what, that brings up another good part of the theory is that how possession sometimes works?
You know, what I heard for like astral projecting or out of body is like I've never heard of anything like someone taking over someone else's body, but I've heard like when someone's ready to go back to their body, it's almost like you're being pulled back to your body. So it's almost like
a tether.
You can tether, like you're connected to your body still somehow, and you can basically be pulled back to it. You don't have to find your way back. So I don't know if that's like something that would be possible since you're tethered to one body. From what it seems like, that's how it is.
I'm actually looking that up right now because it's like bothering me.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to bring it up now, but have you guys seen the documentary The Nightmares?
You told me to watch that after after you were like, hey, you're suffering from sleep paralysis, and I was like, what? And you're like, watch this documentary. It's on Netflix.
Because in there, I'll get into that, like more of it when we do an episode on sleep paralysis. But that was one of the things. The guy says he's walking around his apartment, and things are just happening. Everything's fuzzy, and I think he said he like feels vibrations, and then like he kept getting a phone call, so he's answering it, and it was someone just saying like nasty shit to him or something like that. And then at one point he was like, "Oh, I gotta like wake up," and he was in a different room, and he was like, it was like I got sucked and warped right back to my body. But a lot of things in that documentary, once I heard that, I've never heard anybody say this, like the same things that I was feeling. And once I heard that in the documentary, I was like, holy shit, like that's not just me. That's a thing, which is pretty cool. I don't know if it's still on Netflix.
What is it called? Nightmares?
The Nightmares.
He has like one guy, he can't sleep. So he has like 6 TVs playing, just white noise.
The static stops it. One thing he said that really got to me was he's like it's almost like mechanical hands coming up and stabbing at you, and he's like the worst is when it grabs your dick. And I was like, I've had that feeling in sleep paralysis where something and it's the worst feeling because you can't do anything to stop it, is if something's grabbing you by the dick and balls and you can't get to it, and you're like, oh my god, like I've had that feeling too. But on to other things.
There's also the one that they used, the way technique that they had for inducing it was they actually used a little bit in that TV show Stranger Things, where they did the tank, where they put the character L in the bath, which is actually a legit thing. But they used to do it like where they would build a chamber that was completely just sound deprivation, light, nothing comes in, and you basically sit like you lay in salt water, and there's so much salt in the water that you physically float without having to actually attempt to do anything. So you would just lay in this thing and just zone out, and that's also supposed to help induce a meditative state and then into a ubi or out of body experience.
Ubi.
It's a fancy word for it.
Ubi. Us cultured folks say ubi.
We all say ubi. Our shirts that say ubi. Have you had your ubi?
There's also you ever hear like the sound, the room that has like no sound, that'll like turn you crazy though, because it's you don't hear anything. You ever see that room?
No, I've not seen.
So it's like I don't know where it is. Somebody built it, and it's like all padded and like everywhere. But I want to say like you can see like down into the floor and stuff. But when you sit in there, there's absolutely no sound, and people can't even stay in there for like more than like a half hour to an hour before they're like, I need to get the fuck out of here. So thinking of that tank, I wonder if you would have that same experience of like, I can't deal with this because there's no noise.
I don't know though, only because of the fact that you're floating and like just like almost like lounging in a pool, you'd have that euphoric float going on. So I don't know what that would be. I've never actually tried it myself, so I don't know if it would be, a cool experience or what. But like I say, people did pay for it for quite a while and actually would have that set up and do it legit. It's just, again, I wouldn't know the ratio of actual, like, to make yourself buoyant in the water.
Because I thought in Stranger Things when she was doing it, like it was almost like she was drowning almost.
No.
That's why she was slipping into this other like, realm.
Yeah, but no, that's why they ask for all the, I think it's rock salt they use. I think, at least for the film, I think they use rock salt. But it's like, yeah, you just get enough of the water in there that it makes the body buoyant, so you don't have to swim or have floaties or anything. You just lay in the water, you become buoyant enough, and now you're just on this cushion of water. Let your senses just zone,
Which I've done
and
before.
like you were talking earlier, it kind of gets you almost into a lucid dream experience, and then kind of gets you to go from there.
So I got a crazy little story.
Cool.
And for the record, it's off a site called The Reasons for Jesus. And they have a whole section on astral projection and how it was used by the Hindus and Buddhists for years. And secret societies, that this was how you graduated to become a member of their society, was to perform astral projection for your first time, and that's how you graduate. But there's a ton of stuff on there. I mean, if you guys want to search it, it's reasonforjesus.com. However, there's a story, and it starts off saying the horrors of the astral realm, and it's of a woman who has had every possible, like, great outcome in the astral realm, but she claims that she was violated by demons while she was on the astral realm. She said she went in with a guide. This isn't the first time that she's went in with a guide. They've performed what she calls astral sex. So I guess it's possible for two people to have fornication and whatnot, like in the astral realm. However, apparently while she was up there, and she explains that when we're up there, we're a ball of light, and that demons are up there as well, but they don't bother you because you're a ball of light, and it's something that they rather not be next to. And apparently she said, I was trapped by 3 of them. And she said it was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. She said she could sense 3 or more entities. They were standing by her, looking down and discussing what they were going to do to her. I'm not going to get into detail of what she says, but one of them states, hey, you know what, let us take her back with us. And she's like, I got a flash of what one of them looked like, and it was not pleasant at all. He had long stick legs, like as skinny as brooms, and a head of a ram or something with horns, kind of resembling a pan creature or a satyr. And it goes on and whatnot, and people try to tell her maybe it was sleep paralysis and whatnot. She's like, no, I know what that's about, and all this stuff. So, which brings me back to the idea of, can spirits or demons possess us when we're not in our bodies? This is happening on the astral plane of those who can do it. Like, she's stating that there are demons that walk these astral realms too. So I mean, that's crazy.
Now, those people who walk those astral realms, what if they can morph their bodies?
To take on like an avatar?
Yeah, or to like, whatever they want to be, because there's got to be no limits when you're there. Once you've left your body, if you can travel from where that dude said in like 20 seconds,
Yeah.
Then why can't you just be like, morph yourself, or like that person who's projected themselves, who's walking the plane, has like a fear, and while they're projecting their own fears because they just projected themselves out of their own body.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's all for us. It's all theory, I guess, right? I've never done it. I've never met this plane of existence where we're just spiritual. Matt, have you seen anyone else? While you, like, someone that you could clearly say, hey, this is a human soul.
No, the only time I like remember being like moving around was I was in my 2 apartments ago. We lived on the first floor, and I remember like walking over to my window and seeing just like shadows walking by, like humanoid shadows, and then hearing like talking. I don't remember where the owl was, because I think I was walking around then too. I think I've seen the owl like twice though. And then I think that's about it. I've never really, I never like looked back to see if my body was there or anything. So it's pretty much like looking like at my window, but not looking out the blinds, just figures walking like by it. And then hearing like just talking, like a lot of talking, like more than almost like there's like a party outside, but I never like physically saw anybody else.
You think that could be a guide?
What,
The owl?
I don't know. It was just talking, and then I remember waking up and like the TV was on. I don't know if somebody was watching or we just left it on, and like I don't know if it was just the words from the TV going into the owl's mouth, but I don't remember anything it said. So I just remember like a huge owl, long like eyebrows. That's about it.
Gotta put one of us through this whole astral projection setup.
Yeah, I mean, if I haven't, I don't know the last time I had sleep paralysis. Probably like a few weeks ago, but it's like calmed down a bit now. It's like weird. Like it'll flare up and I'll have it a lot, and then I won't have it for like a month or something, and then just out of nowhere I'll be sleeping, and then I'm like, God damn it, like it's back. Or even if I take a nap sometimes on the couch, like just have the recliner going, and then I'm in it, and like I'm like shit, I need to wake up. I need to wake up, and then like yeah. So I mean, I guess I could try, see if I get any results. Because at one time I tried, and like I said, I saw like the vibration, I saw the colors and stuff, and I'm like, oh shit, like this is. But then I was also too scared. I'm like, man, what if I never wake up? Like this will suck.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd
That's
feel awkward as shit trying to do that. You know what I'm saying?
It's like it feels.
Like, I'm gonna
weird.
go through this and never come back. That's a problem.
Yeah, it's like that's the fear every time I'm asleep. Because I remember that kid saying, he's like, dude, just. And I read it online, like just fall right into it. Don't resist it. And that's like the first thing I do is I resist. But no, yeah. So that's what I do when I first like fall into it is I resist it because it's just out of fear of like I don't know what the fuck to do. And then sometimes I've been stuck in it. And that was the thing when I was like the vibration and seeing the colors. It was almost like it was like grabbing me and just like pulling me in. And then there's times where I feel like I don't even have any strength to wake up. Like I'm not gonna wake up. I'm like all I can do is just sit here and breathe, and I can't even push to wake up. Like it's almost like literally pushing. But then, yeah, sometimes I can't even get myself to do that. And that's when I'm like, oh, this is it. Like, see you guys. But eventually, yeah, I wake up. But it doesn't matter. Like sometimes I'll wake up, and I'll roll over. I'm like, man, if I just roll over, it won't happen again. And then it happens. And I'm like, God damn it, like. Or yeah, it's like shit. But like, that's the thing is like being afraid to do that. So I mean, I'll give it a shot. But I've said that before, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. What's funny is like there was someone I think it was on the documentary when somebody said I've never had sleep paralysis before, but after talking about it, I had it the next night. And it's funny because there's times I've talked about it, and then it starts up again. So who knows? Maybe tonight we'll see. I'll visit your house.
Hey, man. I mean, that's all I got for information.
Found the thing about what James was talking about, the flotation isolation tank. It's like it's got like a top to it. It's like a big tank thing.
Oh, is that the thing that they get rid of all the sound around you and whatnot?
Yeah, that's what he was talking
Yeah.
about.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, you just float in it and like chamber rest, flotation rest. That's the sensory deprivation tank. First used in 1954. So apparently there were $4 million in sales and rentals in the industry. And then there was a movie that spurred from it called Altered States.
Seen that? That was an interesting movie.
1980.
Yeah.
Wow. A low-end tank cost $10,000. Flotation system costs about $70. That's crazy. I wonder if there's any like, what's the closest?
I don't know.
Find it and like.
I know some gyms ended up taking those on
Really?
as a form of after workout like therapy.
Mm-hmm.
If you just put yourself in that capsule, or in a sense, I mean, it is a healing process. So
Northampton.
Northampton Euphoria Float Spa.
What's the damage on that?
Let's find out where they're at. Like how far?
Because Northampton's not that far.
Yeah, it's like so. It's about an hour drive from us to go to a flotation spa. Let's find out.
If there's a safe way of doing it, I'll do it. I don't care.
Floating, relax and let go. Improved sleep helps cure insomnia. But they're pretty much open all day, every day, till like 9:30 at night.
Is there a cost?
Pricing.
Where's
Is
that?
that
Yeah,
right there.
here we go. Oh, get ready for this. It's gonna be bad.
Like $600.
Oh, 60 minutes, $65.
That's actually not as
That's
bad
not
as I
bad.
thought it was going to be.
90 minutes, $80. 120 minutes, $95. 180 minutes, $130.
Oh my god.
They got different packages though. Introductory float package. Intro pack, 3 floats, save $50.
Well, there's 4 of us, so one of us is including.
There's a membership, $70 a month, includes 1 monthly 90-minute float.
I'm willing to do it.
I mean,
Yeah, I'd be willing to try something like that, to have an open experience, to actually just zone out. And
I feel like if I was in there, I wouldn't be able to, like, I think my mind would be racing. I don't know. I'd just be like,
you have to get used to the idea, I think, of just being in the water and just being able
Yeah,
to
I think that's why they honestly the price gets cheaper the more time you spend in there. Because I think the first time, like the first hour you're in there, you're gonna be like fuck.
Yeah.
That's the
Where's
thing. Yeah,
my-
like I don't think a 60 minutes. Yeah, I don't think that would be enough for me. I have to do like the 120 or 180 minute one, and then finally just zone out. That'd be crazy though. You're just floating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a bad idea to try to it puts us to the test.
Hey, everybody, this concludes episode 2. We thank you for taking time to listen to us ramble about outer body experiences. Stay tuned because our next topic is about sleep paralysis. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.